What are human beings, fundamentally? This question has generated more disagreement than almost any other in intellectual history, and the disagreement is not merely academic. How you answer it determines how you think about motivation, about social organization, about education, about what kind of change is possible and what kind is hopeless. William James gave an answer that was unusual for his era and remains unusual today. He refused the simplifications. Human beings are not primarily rational, as the Enlightenment tradition wanted to believe. Reason is one faculty among many, and it operates within frameworks of instinct, habit, emotion, and belief that are not themselves rational and that reason does not control. The person who decides based on pure logic, with no emotional loading and no prior commitments, does not exist. Real decisions are always made by creatures who have histories, bodies, fears, and desires. But human beings are also not primarily selfish, as certain evolutionary and economic traditions have claimed. James took seriously the evidence for genuine altruism, for the capacity to sacrifice individual advantage for the good of others, for the existence of moral emotions, shame, indignation, sympathy, that are not reducible to disguised self-interest. He thought the view that all apparent altruism is really egoism was a theoretical prejudice rather than a finding, and that it failed to account for too much of what human beings actually experience. Human beings are deeply instinctual. James's chapter on instinct in the Principles of Psychology listed more than 30 separate instincts, more than any psychologist before him had identified. But instincts in human beings are not rigid, fixed, automatic responses in the way they are in simpler animals. They interact with each other, they are modified by experience, they are overridden by habit, and they generate behavior only in combination with intelligence and circumstance. The instinct of fear interacts with the instinct of curiosity. The instinct of rivalry interacts with the instinct of love. The result is not a simple response but a complex, contextual, individual reaction. Most importantly, James believed human nature is more changeable than most theories acknowledge. This was personal for him. He had changed, dramatically, from a despairing young man of 1870 to the vital, productive, warm-hearted philosopher and psychologist of his mature years. He knew from direct experience that profound change was possible, and he was committed to understanding the conditions that made it so. His answer involved three elements. First, genuine belief, a change in what you take to be true about yourself and the world. Second, action, behavior that enacts the new belief before you feel entirely convinced of it. Third, community, a social environment that reflects back the new self rather than the old one. These three elements together create the conditions for what James called regeneration, the deep, sustained change of character that is more than mere improvement and that can transform a life. The implication for how we think about other people is significant. James's view of human nature is neither romantic nor cynical. It does not pretend that people are better than they are. It does not assume they are worse. It insists that human beings are complex, that they contain genuine potential for both harm and growth, and that the conditions in which they live shape which potential is actualized. Change the conditions, provide the right combination of belief, action, and community, and human beings change. The James who knew this from his own life wrote it into everything he produced. Subscribe to The Psychology of William James for more of his timeless ideas.